All right, everybody. This week we are learning Vera. I could go on about how I feel about this character, although those feelings would be pretty intense, seeing as I've been straight bodied by this character since I started up again back in October. Today, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going through my process of how I learn a new character and kind of all the steps that go into it. Just kind of talking through things. So this isn't going to be a very highly edited type of guide, more of a walkthrough, but hopefully this helps anybody who's watching to pick up new characters, especially since we've got, some new DLC characters kind of on the horizon. So, welcome to Vira week. Let's get started. So, whenever I learn a new character, basically my constant companion for this is Dustloop. So I go over to Dustloop, I open up the character page, and I basically get ready to go through and reference all of this stuff. I've already done a lot of the readings, so it's not like I'm going to read all this out loud, but one of the things that I do like to do is to make sure that I'm looking at the normal move list as I'm in training mode. So I'll actually be referencing like this frame data and looking at these little notes like people here saying, hey, one of Vera's main pressure tools. Okay, this is good for me to know. So that when I'm over in training room, as we switch back, I'll be like, okay, so this is the thing that I want to do pressure with. How many of these do I get? Okay, I get 2 taps before I get pushed out. That's pretty standard. All right, pretty good. Then I'll rotate back over here, and I'll be like, all right, let's go. What about, her next normal? And I'll just look at things. Be like, all right, close M. Frame trap, general pressure tool. All right, cool. So let's test that out. So I'll go back here into the game. I'll set the opponent to check the counterattack settings, and we'll say, okay, so after blocking, I want you to stand L. We'll make sure that blocking is set to blocking all, and, I'll see. Oh, yeah, okay, so just like a lot of other characters, it frame traps. So we get a frame trap here off 2L and a frame trap here off of 5L, which is pretty rad. So that's good to know, right? Like, this is going to help us open up our opponent. This is a pretty standard frame trap. And now we've got this. So what I'll do is I'll walk through this on the Dustloop with all of the moves. I'm not going to record every single one. And I'll just kind of check the description and then pop back into the training room and, try it out. Get a sense for how things feel, right? Which is pretty useful. It's especially good for things, when they pull out commons here like safe neutral poke. All right, cool. Longest range normal. Awesome. Usually when I see things like this, instead of taking it at face value, once again, I'll go back into the training mode and I'll check. I'll be like, all right, let's set this dummy to block everything. Cool. So what is the actual range on this? So is there any other normal that's bigger? Let's just double check. Oh, she gets so excited when she fights Cat. I probably should have picked another character to fight. This is one of the other things that I like to check. So to see if there's any normals that move the character on whiff, right? If it's moving them forward or moving them backwards. So for example, like if you look at her feet right now, her front foot is planted on this last little of purple plant here. I don't know what this plant's called. I'm not going to guess. So as we're doing her normals, right, we can see like, does that foot actually change position, right? We can see she takes a step forward here, but it puts her back in the right place. So we can position her here in this like particular place and then see if her position changes or not. It doesn't look like it does, so we don't have to worry about normals moving us around when we're not expecting it. Pretty much the first part of the process is just going over all of the normals. Let's see, did I miss anything? Normals that are particularly fast. Yeah, so this is one of the other things that I check is the startup, right? And to see if it like matches startup from other characters that I'm used to or if they're faster than normal. So Vera seems to have a lot of really fast buttons, like far heavy, right? It comes out in 8 frames. If we compare that to Gran, for instance, who I've been playing recently, this far H comes out in 10, right? So that's a 2-frame difference. That's pretty significant. And then if we look at her close heavy, right, this comes out in 9. Which is the same speed as Belial's close H, which is what I was using last week to kind of set up a lot of delayed attacks, so 9 is like a really comfortable startup for me, so that's good to know. All right, so just a couple more quick things in the normal sections. The other thing that I like to do after I've kind of gone move by move is just get used to range, right? So if I want to hit somebody in the corner with Vera with her farthest reaching normal, that means I need to be standing about here, right? So about this far away, this space is where I can actually come into contact with somebody. So it's important for us to know this distance, right? Like this, from here, we can't hit anybody. This is our maximum range with Vera. Like anything here or farther out, we're not going to be able to hit anybody with a normal. Now we can hit people with a special, but we haven't gotten to the special section yet. A couple of the other things that I check is how many 2Ls I can get. So this is kind of a unique thing in Grand Blue, is that some characters can get 3 of these, and other characters can only get 2. It looks like Vera is a 2L kind of person. So this prevents me from making mistakes where I'm like, just mashing, trying to get the 3rd one, and it's never going to happen. And then the final thing that I do is I go back and check the dust loop one last time. So we'll head back over there. I just want to make sure that I haven't missed anything that is highlighted in this on block section as being plus. Usually the close L's, right? +2 on block. That's really good. Close L and 2L are hopefully +2 on block across the character, because that means they've got really good pressure from both of those normals. That's not true for everyone, so I like to come back here and check, like, okay, so 0 on block for close M, close H is -3, -3 for far L, far N's -6, -9 on far H, okay. +2 on 2L, right? So we know that both 5L and 2L are good for pressure. This isn't true for every character, right? But now that we know this exists on Vera, where you can be a little bit more confident in like mixing up that high-low pressure. And then coming through, let's just check everything else. On block, negative, negative, negative. Okay, so we know she doesn't have any plus normals besides 2L, 5L. So if we go back over here into the game, we can see like, all right, hey, we know this is plus, we know this is plus. This is good information. Knowing what's plus is good for us. Haha. Okay, so after we've taken a look at the normals and we've gotten a sense of Vera's general range, the next thing that we want to do is start looking into all the specials. So, as per normal, I go and I open up Dust Loop and I'm referencing her special section as we go. I could look at the command list, but I do prefer this. Okay, so the first one is going to be 236. With Vera, it's a little interesting, right? Because she has install. We'll get out of install real quick. So this is normal Vera, right? So she actually has separate specials, whether she's an install or whether she's not. They get different properties. So it's actually like learning twice the amount of specials on this character. So we've got 236L. This gets used in block strings quite a lot because this one is -4 on block. And if it's done spaced, right, it pushes her back out. Remember, we're here at this range, right, where she can't hit the opponent, right? She's going to whiff. So if we do this spaced, right, it puts her just at the range where she can do it again, where she can hit with the normal or far enough away to where if the opponent presses a button, we can whiff punish, right? So this is actually like one of Vera's really good tools, and I wanted to experiment with this real quick. One of the nice things is you can set up kind of some whiff punish reactions. So let's have her do stand M after this, right? So we're going to do this spaced. Oh, okay, so there is a frame trap here. So this is one of the other things that I like to check is when we're doing normal, like, right, where are the frame traps? If they press a button, is there a gap here? And so we know since this special is a frame trap, what that also means is that it can get DP'd out of, right? So if we had Jita here set to DP, I usually like to have DP and a button just kind of here and rotate through these things, right? So we have our DP here, and we, do our thing. Let's cancel properly, right? She's going to DP through it. So this is good to know, right? This is safe on block, but there is a gap there for people to DP or reversal. So it's not the safest thing in the world. It's only safe if they block it, right? So in order to test to see how this whiff punish is going to work, right? Like, we know she's going to press 5M afterwards. So we can do this kind of spaced out to where it's going to whiff. And then we can see if we get like a free whiff punish. And we do, right? So this is one of the things that's actually quite good about Vera, because this kind of like built-in whiff punish distance, right, lets us do some interesting things with that. We just have to know, like, it has to be really spaced out. Otherwise, you're going to get hit, right? So it seems like if you don't get full hits, that's a good indicator, right? Here we get all these hits, leaves us too close. But if the animation starts and we only get a couple hits, right, we know that's kind of the right spacing for this. which is cool. Like, that's good to know, because a lot of people, if you watch like match footage of Vera, like to press a button after blocking this, right? So good information. All right, so that's 236L. That one is safe. Then there's 236M, right? That one is basically your confirm, right? So if we're doing pressure and, oh, hey, we got to confirm, that's the one that actually gives us some extra damage. And then there's 236H, which also, let's see if it's gapless from an auto combo. So that one is gapless, right? So if we're worried about people pressing a button, pressing DP, right, we know that this one is gapless, but it's also punishable on block, right? It's -9. So we want to save that for confirms as well, and we know we're actually going to hit the opponent. Otherwise, we're going to get punished. Let's see, and then an install. We'll go into install real quick. So 236L stays the same. The big thing that changes is that 236M gets a dash cancel. So the dash cancel, as we can see, isn't safe on block, right? So they can mash out of this, which means they can DP out of it. Like anywhere they can mash, they can DP, right? But if somebody is just blocking a lot, it lets us reset pressure. And I kind of know all this already from Vera because I've played against her so much. There's a lot of Veras out here in the Pacific Northwest. We know we want to practice this, right? So the way to do this is just holding the button. So whenever there's a weird input like this where you got to hold it, I like to experiment with the timing, you know, so we'll do this. Then we'll just see, like, how long do I actually need to press the button? Can I start pressing the button halfway through? Let's see if I can do that or not. But yeah, so this is nice, right? This lets you dash back in for throws. This lets you dash back in for overheads or lows or whatever you want to do if your opponent is afraid to, you know, actually press. All right, let's check out her other stuff. She has a DP. What's the range on the DP? Usually what I like to do is just, you know, check real quick. Like, this is the L version. This is the medium version. Much higher. Cool. You know, this is the EX version. And then I just like to look over the notes on the dust loop. Like, oh, okay, air unblockable only on frame 9 through 10 for the light version, right? On the medium, the first hit's air unblockable, second is not. This is kind of important to know because some people will try to bait your DP by blocking in the air, which is really bad. So if we do want to use this as an anti-air, we got to use the EX version. The EX version also gives hard knockdown. And one of the other cool things is, again, Vera in install has different versions. So her medium DP becomes this, right? Which is hits twice on block. Dust Loop says this is -6. And then her HTP, the main thing here, right, is if we do a combo with this, this is actually part of her combo kit. So she gets this extra little pause at the top. And what this does is it lets her kind of keep the combo going. So if we do a bigger combo, we can kind of see the extension here. Right, and she can keep going afterwards, which is cool. This is her kind of pressure tool, right? So 214L, this one, not plus on block, right? This one's -5. This says it's safe when blocked at max range. It's like her best ender for Oki, but trades corner carry. So, you know, if we do our frame trap properly into the attack. Let's see. Okay, she gets a bit of a knockdown. What does it look like mid-screen? It's good to check mid-screen versus corner just to see what kind of knockdown distance you're getting on things, right? We want to do 214L afterwards. So 214L mid-screen, let's take a look at what kind of knockdown we get. Right, puts them about here, which for Vera is really good because it puts them at the range to do this, right? Which is part of why people are saying this is a good ender, right? This isn't the maximum damage ender. If we wanted maximum damage, right, we would do this one. It gives us extra damage. So these are just good things to know for why we might want to end in something that does less damage, right, for better knockdown. The important one here is 214M. This one in particular is the one that's plus on block, so we can, you know, we land this, we get to keep going, right? We've got Jita here on block to swing, right? So we can see we can get a, you know, CM post medium after this if she presses a medium button because we have the advantage, right? So this is a big part of Vira's pressure, is being able to kind of start with this, and then if people are impatient, don't realize that it's plus, right, we can just hop in and do all this stuff. For this kind of special, right, because it is plus, it's good for us to know, like, what's the range that we can actually land this at. It's pretty big, actually. Like, look at all this space it covers. It's huge. And then the farther away that it is, right, it sets us up for all sorts of different stuff. Like, if it's at this tip range, it's going to make Vita whiff, which is absolutely wild. So, is it round start distance? Yeah, it is round start distance. That's brutal, right? Look at that. We can counter hit with we hit it at just the tip range. We can counter hit far medium. Get the timing right. Anyway, so these are the kind of things that I experiment with, just to be like, oh, hey, this is possible, you know, like, holy buckets, these things are real. These are the kind of things that you want to experiment with. See, you know, hey, what's the actual long-range distance where I can hit this, right? So maybe there's some fun setups I can get off of if I know someone's going to press a button afterwards, and I can do some crazy confirms. All right. And then the last special that she's got is Summon Luminaria. So this is her kind of Oki tool, right? If this touches the opponent, it's going to put them in hit stun. The way that this works is it's, you know, 22L goes this far, 22M goes this far, and 22H is going to go up to this distance, but otherwise track the opponent location, right? So the reason this is important is because in the corner, 22L and 22M just go off screen. So in the corner, if you want to use this on the opponent, you actually have to use the EX version, and see it'll just snap right to them, right? So, you know, mid-screen, if it doesn't hit the character, right, it's just like a wasted move, basically. So the way that this gets used on Vera is largely with in association with knockdowns, right? So we do something like this, and then we pop it. We want to do this on hard knockdowns only, so apparently one of them is to do this heavy DP into 22L, and that'll do it. So yeah, we're going to want to just get used to, like, oh, hey, if we score a hard knockdown, let's set G to not block. If we score a hard knockdown in the corner, you know, we can do this. Does it work mid-screen if we score a hard knockdown? Kind of. So we'd have to do, like, hard knockdown, 22L. Yeah, that's what it is. It's hard knockdown, 22L, cancel after the 2U if we manage to get it. Right, and then go into stuff. But now we've taken a look at all the specials, which is great. We've looked at which ones leave a gap, which ones are gapless. We've looked at stuff that are plus on block, safe on block, what's punishable. We've kind of looked at some of the unusual things. So the last thing that I like to do is just check out the SBAs, or the, you know, Skybound arts, the supers. You know, we'll check the inputs on these. So Vera's got a few. She's got the install. Right, this will put her into install, and she can also do it off of combos. And in the corner, if they're high enough already, you can actually get a combo off of this, so we'll check that out later. And then if you do the other version, while not an install, you'll get her regular SBA, which does a nice chunk of damage. Very nice chunk of damage. She has, let's see, she's got her laser, so we know which input that's on now. And then she's also got her Super Skybound art, which I think does even more damage. Yep. The other thing that I like to check when I'm in this is how far they reach. So, like, if I'm trying to use this as a reversal, like, how big is the first hit? I know that her laser goes full screen, but, you know, I'm curious, like, okay, if the first super hit here, does this one have any more reach? Answer is no, it's about the same. It just does more damage. And then the last thing that I like to check is just to see if there's a really big difference in the damage between technical input and regular input. So, you know, if we do simple input, let's see. right? This is simple input SBA. We can see what kind of damage output we get off of a close heavy, 5700. And then we can see if there's a big difference with technical input or not. All right, so there isn't at that immediate fast range. If we do it off of a longer combo, though, sometimes that has an impact. So let's just check that out real quick. So this is technical version off of a basic corner combo wall bounce extension. This is the kind of like basic stuff that you'll end up confirming a lot. So 5015 being done. Easy input. So we're trying to beat 5015. You're going to see if there's a big difference. Okay, so it's about the same. So for some characters, there's like a 500 to 1200 point difference between easy input and technical input. And for other characters, you know, it ensures that they get cinematics where they might not otherwise get cinematics. And there's a lot of benefit to being able to make sure that you're doing the technical input when possible, right? But we all know there are some scenarios where you're trying to do the input really fast, and the technical version isn't that realistic. So knowing that it doesn't have a damage impact for Vera is really nice. Okay, finally, there's a couple of extra little things that I like to do before we move on to the combo section. So one of them is just getting used to jump-ins. And then I just get used to, like, what range will I be able to hit her jump-ins, right? You know, off of a regular jump, it's going to look like this. If I'm way back here, my super jump, it'll just barely reach. You know, let's do some run-up jumps, right? Let's get used to what the jumps feel like so that I'm not, like, taken by surprise. Now, jump Ls are almost always going to stay active until you touch the ground, right? Which is why they're always useful to learn. This button is going to give me a lot of trouble on this character because this is something that's kind of unique to Vera, this forward thrust. And this isn't really even going to work as a jump-in most of the time because I'd have to do it really late. And usually what you want to do is use this type of button as an air-to-air. But because this is different from a lot of characters that I've learned, the majority of characters tend to have a cross-up button on jump M. So this is actually going to screw me up quite a lot when I'm starting because I'm going to try to use it like this. I'm going to try to fall with it. And while that's fine if I'm, you know, in front of the character, it seems like falling with this button isn't impossible, right? The problem is I'm going to try to use it as this this cross-up button. Just isn't going to work, right? So I got to be careful with that. And then for jump C, this is good. Any of these jump in normals that reach below like this at this downward angle are really good at beating anti-airs that are late, right? Because this button will, you know, tend to come into contact before the anti-air comes out. But this isn't as deep as some of the other characters that I've played. I want to say this is even worse than Grand's. But it's good to know, like, you know, that this exists. Her cross-up is actually on jump U. Jump U is kind of this interesting looking button. And it's only on the late frames, or not the late frames, but the early frames of the move, right? So if we're going to do a cross-up, we got to be careful about when we press the button. Otherwise, you know, it's just not going to hit. So this is pretty normal too. Like, cross-ups in this game are pretty late, right? It's good for us to know that we can be like right here and we can cross up, right? Anyway, so that's one of the other things that I like to check. And then the last thing that I like to check is just making sure that, like, this is my farthest reaching normal. See, this special is going to whiff, right? The first part. This kind of like weird interactions and little things is good to know. Like, is there anything that I have in my arsenal that's going to whiff? All right, and finally, we're going to go into learning the actual combos for a new character. So there's a few things that I like to do here. As before, we're going to reference the dust loop. So we're going to go over to dust loop. We're going to go over to the combo page. And the main thing that we're looking for is a couple of very basic categories of combos. And these are the ones that I try to learn on every character I pick up. We're basically looking for mid-screen meterless, mid-screen max damage, usually using a cooldown. We're looking for a basic corner combo, a max damage corner combo, and then, you know, what the corner combo looks like with SBA or SSBA damage. With Vera, of course, we're going to have to learn the install combos versus the regular combos, so it's going to be a little bit of extra work. Oh, and the one additional thing that I like to do is, what do I get off of lights, off of a light confirm? So, 2L, 2L, bar 5L, what's the combo there? Just because that ends up being really useful across every characters. If I can only get a very fast 5-frame punish, let's make sure that I actually get a full combo off of it. Yeah, so 1600 versus 1200. So, yeah, same type of thing. So we just kind of want to get used to this, right? This will be our mid-screen confirm, right? 1960 damage is pretty respectable. A lot of characters only get 1900 off of this type of confirm. Cool. So if we get any type of auto combo, 236M or 623M is good. Right, this will be our biggest damage that we can get. So I have a heavy starter, it's 2670, which is pretty good. If we get it off of a jump in, right, that's going to be like our maximum mid-screen damage off of a jump in plus heavy. And then of course the least that we'll be able to get off an auto combo into this, 1870, right? So it's actually better for us to do this versus the auto combo, which is nice to know. All right, what else mid-screen? We can go into 214H mid-screen, which sets us up for Oki, so let's check this out. I'm assuming this will be 22L. Let's see, do they have anything unique? So let's look. It looks like there's some more advanced combos related to install. When you have that available, you get some mid-screen extensions that are quite good. But for now, let's go pop over into the corner. So most combo theory in Grand Blue Versus is pretty basic, where it's like buttons into this, wall bounce into more stuff, and let's see how much we can get. So it looks like the basic idea is 236H, 2 buttons, 214H, and then DP ender, and then summon. So we're going to want to get used to doing things in this order. It's also very important that we put 2 buttons here, because if we don't, it's going to drop, right? So basically, comboing off of 214H is height dependent. If we only do 1 button here, he's not high enough for us to keep the combo going. So we got to remember to do 2 buttons in between. And then we got to end in DP. So that seems like the basics, right? Usually I like to do this for about 20 minutes or so, make sure that I'm not dropping things. Also like to do like a little personal exercise where I mash as little as possible just to make sure that I have the timing down. Yeah, I try to just, instead of being all crazy with the buttons when I'm practicing this stuff, I just try to do things as lightly as possible. All right, we only did 1 hit. Got to do 2 hits. Right. It looks like we get about 4,000 damage in the corner. If we're auto-comboing. One of the other things that I try to look at as well is, just like, what's the general damage that I can expect? Right? And then what's the damage if I end in super? How much more damage am I getting? Okay, so it's like around 1,000 more damage for 100 meter, right? Of course, now obviously what we want to do is we want to learn the install combos, right? We want to do this and figure out what the install combos are. Because the install combos are where the good stuff is, as far as what you want to do when you have 100 meter, right? Like, it does 500 damage all on its own. Now we're in install. We have access to all sorts of other stuff, right? So let's take a second to try to figure out the install combo. Oh. Okay, that's the install SSBA. All right, so the last and final thing that I like to do when I'm learning a new character is to make sure I spend a little bit of time with their anti-airs. So, because every character gets different rewards off their anti-airs. Some get a ridiculous amount of damage. I know that Vera is one of those characters that can get a lot of crazy things off of her anti-airs. And generally, it's just something that you want to get comfortable with on any character that you pick up, is getting used to the anti-airs. Well, the Vera, she has a couple. She has this one, you know, far heavy will do it. Close heavy as well has this big upward swing, which will also anti-air. And then this, her dedicated one, is also helpful at some places. But the advice that I've gotten is to get used to doing far heavy and close heavy. So to set this up, all I do is get my training dummy over here set to record. I get to about the space for a jump in. I hit record, and then I do a jump in. That's it. And then from here, I just play that back, and I start experimenting with, you know, what's the range at which her anti-airs hit, right? If I back really far away, right, we can experiment with the far H, kind of see how that goes. And the main thing that we're looking for is these counter hit combos, right? Everybody gets guaranteed stuff off of counter hits. Not everyone is able to get good combos off of normal hit. Usually I don't start looking for those until I've learned the counter hit ones. So, you know, we're basically just trying to figure out what we can get here. We go back, we look at Dust Loop, we take a quick look, we can see the basic close range anti-air combo is to do like 2 close H's into 214L. So let's go ahead and give that a shot. So let's go back to mid screen. They're playing. So close H. Oh, that's good. All right, let's give that a couple more goes. All right, so it looks like we got to wait for them to really kind of fall to the right height. We can do the EX version too. Seems like if we do it with the crouching one, right? Because this is going to happen because of habit. We got to be careful about actually being able to follow up off of that. Just get used to doing this. Oh, hey, look, we got an accidental Vera extension and 5k damage off of an anti-air. This is the kind of stuff that's good to know, right? So we want to get used to doing close H and the range at which close H works, right? Because it's this big swing that starts in front of her, right? That's part of why it's really good for anti-airs. Just getting comfortable with this, and then afterwards, like, you want to go into 214L, or if we're close to the corner here, we can probably just go into our corner combo. Yeah, pretty much. And then there's probably, like, unique stuff for anti-airs that she gets an install, right? So somebody jumps at us while we're in install, we can just do this, right? Which is very, very reliable for an anti-air. It's not quite as much damage, but there's probably some crazy stuff that she gets off of this. We can figure out later. The main thing with learning this stuff early on is we don't need to necessarily learn the most advanced things, right? But just like practicing this alone and getting used to the timing, like, okay, man, that's good. Like, you know, it's all this free damage. Yeah. And then the last thing I like to check is to see, like, okay, how much extra damage does she get off of anti-air into SBA, right? Like 5140. That's pretty good. Let's see. Can we get even bigger damage if we get the full cinematic? Is this the full cinematic? So 5140, right? So it's about the same as if we just like spent the meter if we were in the corner, right? So look at how far that wall bounces though. So like if we start the round, how close does it get us to the corner? Oh, got those wrong inputs. This is the kind of stuff that I like to check too, is like, hey, if somebody jumps at me mid-screen, it will just put them in the corner, which is so super nice. All right, cool. And then the last thing that I try to do is just check a couple things about Oki. So people have been saying like this is a good Oki ender, right? Because it puts them in range of this. So the idea would be like, you know, max range sweep cancel. So we do this into this, right? Off of this, we know that we can also get 2-2L, right? We can jump in and do stuff. And then off of 214L, I think they also said, yeah, 214L is like around the right distance for doing stuff. So we know that we can get Oki into 2-2L. The medium one is a little bit more situational, right? And we want to be careful about using these because they're simultaneously opportunities for Vera to do crazy knockdown pressure stuff where, you know, you're doing these meaty lows that are stuffing DPs and things where they have to hold, where they got to hold the setup. But usually, like, what I like to do is read about the Oki, just, you know, try it out a couple times and be like, oh, okay, I get it. I see how it works. You know, let's actually go play. And that's kind of the last and final step, is to go lose 100 games. So that's my process. Just to recap, like, the order in which I go over things. You know, I go through every normal. I try out all of her specials. I check out the supers. I look for cross-ups. I check the max range normals. Then we practice some combos. We practice some anti-airs. We get a sense of the basic Oki concepts. And then we go play, and we expect to lose about 100 games. So anyway, I hope this video was helpful. I am going to go edit this now. And good luck on learning your next character in Grand Blue. If you like this video, do all of the YouTube things. It is much appreciated. And I'll see you next time.